Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
Surrounded by them.
idiots.
What's good? How you feeling?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I can't complain, man. I can't complain. We are here today with. How would you describe yourself? First off, Mr. Randy C. Bonds. But how would you describe yourself and all the things that you do? Because you do a lot of stuff. You're a host, a podcast producer, a publicist. How do you encompass it all?
I call myself a visual storyteller, which really encompasses what I do as a publicist, what I did as a journalist, what I do as a writer. I call myself a connector because I believe in building community.
Right.
And then I'll say I'm a wellness advocate that believes in creating balance. You know, I have personally made it a mission to live and experience a balanced life, which I understand will be sometimes hard, sometimes soft.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a big advocate for wellness and mental health. And a visionary, ultimately. I think I've always been one who could, you tell me something and I see the vision. I know how to make it plain. I know how to bring it together. I know who to call on to bring it together. So I'm a producer.
Right.
So I use some of those things to describe who I am.
I like that. I like that. A producer that's a key component in everything that you do. Because it's a networking. It's people like. You're always inviting me to stuff, and I'm like, man, I be in the house. I don't be doing it, but it's like you're everywhere. You're in all different. But how do you manage that? How do you manage?
You know, I have to learn to listen to my body, and just be in tune with my spirit and know when I can and can't handle it. Because it's like, to be honest, I'm like that extroverted introvert. I prefer to be in my comfort zone.
Same.
I prefer intimacy, but I know how to turn on the Leo in me and be social when I need to be.
Right,
and people
right.
mistake that and think I'm the life of the party, which is always shocking to me because I'm like, me?
Well,
Life of what party?
You know what it is? You're at the party and you know that you have to bring life to it. So you're just already at terms with it when you get there. That's how I am.
100%.
Like, people think they're like, man, you always out. And it's like, I want to be out at the things I want to be out at.
That part.
That's
I'm
about
selectively
it.
out.
I'm very selectively.
Yeah.
Like, I can't be. People are energy drainers. Like they are either they can replenish, they can do nothing for your energy, or they can drain. And most drain.
And I talk about that. I say, resources are meant to be reused or replaced.
Right.
Like you decide. Did you fill me up to a place where I want to experience this again? So if so, I'll reuse it. And if not, I'm okay with understanding that maybe this ain't for me. Like maybe, I might want to try something else.
Yeah.
And I don't even mean that next thing is going to be it. But I want to keep trying until I found the right thing. Because so many of us get a thing and we settle for because it meets a need. Not checks all the boxes, but it's like, well, let's kind of sort of, something better than nothing. And it's just like, I've had enough something, so I don't want that no more.
There you go. And that's another thing is I think a lot of that comes with exposure. And this is another reason why I want to have you on the show, because we know, not everybody knows, but we know that you did my true star interview back in Chicago. And apparently this was your first celebrity. I wouldn't put myself under that, but celebrity interview.
Still are.
And that's crazy.
Yes, no, this was my genesis, like literally. So the young lady right under me over there, Shay Wright, she and I went to high school together.
Left?
To my right.
Oh, to your
so
right.
the last person on the picture, opposite of you.
Yes.
So she and I went to high school together, but then I transferred to a different high school, and she told me about a program where they were getting paid to do journalism and interview celebrities. I'm like, I can interview celebrities and get money for it, and I'm about to go to college next year. Of course, that makes sense. Like, why not?
Right.
So I joined, and never knowing, what it would be. The magazine was 3 years old at the time, and there were people who had been there since the genesis of it who still hadn't had features. And so when I came in and I got this and a couple of other articles that were just think pieces, I was kind of surprised that, like, wow, I didn't know I had a knack for this. Like, I've always been a writer and a storyteller, but never imagining I go into something like journalism. And then the connection was even doper because you were my namesake on the show. So I'm like, oh, wow, how dope. So I'm interviewing a guy from Chicago who's doing what I want to do someday, being in Hollywood. and he's playing
Randy.
Randy on the show. Like, how fitting, you know? And out of all of us, you see the pictures, it's how many of us? It looked like somebody's even covered back there.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah,
5, 6,
it was a
7.
bunch of us, and I got the feature. Like, I was the one who got asked to write the story, and I can't tell you why or what made me the one and why I was, you know, a natural there. But I'm so grateful because I'm grateful for college. But college didn't prepare me for what I'm doing. Like, I went to college for something completely different, you know, but this magazine that I did as a high school student that I transitioned into college doing, that's what changed the course of my entire life, introduced me to, you know, entertainment, brought me outside of just the realms of, like,
Chicago.
home.
Yeah,
Chicago.
I know, yeah.
Like, introduced me to a place like LA. Never imagining I'd be living here and someday on your podcast. Like, you went from being my first interview to like, here I am 19 years later, which sounds crazy to say out loud.
Well, but here's the other thing. I think first off, to your defense, it's, you know, that's, you don't know why you, but also look at where you are and what you're doing. And I don't know if you can say that about everybody in the picture. You know what I mean? You like, you know, it takes a different get up and go, or also seizing an opportunity. You know,
100%,
and being grateful for an opportunity. But
for
so,
sure.
How old were you here?
So I had to be maybe 15.
Okay.
Or yeah, I want to say 15.
So 15.
Maybe
So prior to this, what was your story? Like, you know, family, the whole thing. Break it down.
Yeah, grew up in a single parent household, and all I knew was single women, from like my grandma to my aunt that lived with us, and I just didn't necessarily have a father figure necessarily, and my father was there, like I know who he was, and he was like he existed, you know. I see him sometimes when he came to town or for the summers and things, but I think that shaped me significantly coming up. You know, I can remember the first time I would say, now in my adult years, that I advocated and used my voice against adult, you know, was probably my father. And it's funny looking now, just going back into time and just seeing things differently now as an adult. You see your parents as humans who were
100%.
Basically figuring it out too,
Yep.
you know? And so now I look at just where I am and where I've come from, and I don't have any regrets about, you know, my past and what I did or didn't experience. But my reality is I did grow up in a single family household, and that shaped everything in me, the hustler in me from my mom, who just always knew how to find a way and figure it out or make one. You know, like she just quit her job after 22 years, and now she's a full-time entrepreneur. I'm like, that was the first, you know, entrepreneur in the family. Even before she was technically, you know, doing this and left her job, she just started a business just making something that she felt was essential, body butters and body oils. To this day, for the past, like, I want to say 8 years she's been doing it.
Wow.
I do not buy store-bought lotions. Like, I literally ordered, like, I'm waiting on the packages right now, literally, that hits my house in a couple of days.
That's amazing.
Because, like, I only get my moisturizers from her, and they're natural, homemade things.
Well, you know what's
like,
in them.
Literally.
You know what's in them.
Literally, I see her make them, and it's such a hit. It was something she started making just for us that was so good that now she goes and does markets and vendor fairs and all types of things making it. But she just always was just one who had a heart for others, who always gave, who was very generous, always sacrificed to make sure somebody else didn't go without, you know, even if that meant she took the less end of the stick. And I took a lot from that. And then just, you know, it's funny because even though I didn't grow up with my dad, I've learned I have some of his ways too, you know, that I didn't know about. I found out from my stepmom. And so I'll say I'm a culmination of both my parents. I'm a Leo Cancer cusp. My dad's a Cancer. My mom's a Gemini. I happen to be a Gemini rising. So I have that Gemini from my mom and me where I could be either hot or cold, or, you know, in or out. It just really depends. And then I have like that emotional, sensitive side of my dad. So I'll call myself a soft ass Leo sometimes, because it's just like I have a little bit of that water and that compassion in me. And so yeah, I'll say that defines who I am when it comes to the person. And then I grew up church, which is a big part of my story. And I'm sure we'll get into parts of that today.
Yeah.
But growing up church just really shaped my worldview. And I'll also say I think limited my worldview because all I knew was church and those four walls.
Yeah.
And anything beyond that kind of scared me. And so a lot of my faith and my foundation was rooted in fear. Like the fear of going to hell, the fear of letting God down, the fear of letting people down. So a lot of my people pleasing in me and my false humility came from that, which is really what birthed what I now do would Be Greater Than. You know, my wellness brand, pushing people to understand what it means to really empower yourself and shine your light no matter what room you're in. I think coming from church, being a young black boy, we're taught to keep our heads down and be humble, to be safe.
Yeah.
So that, you know, we don't...
And be just grateful for
all
the
those
opportunity.
things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, instead of, you know, understanding this is good, but I want more. Or understanding, I don't have to, like you said, dim myself just because I'm in a room full of people who might not understand.
That part,
Yeah.
100%. And I think that really shaped me a lot growing up. And I don't regret it now. I'm grateful that I experienced that, so I know what it feels like to, like, intentionally dwell in the dark.
Yeah.
Because it makes me appreciate the light so much more now, and I appreciate showing up as my full self and not thinking I gotta come down like this to make you comfortable.
Right.
It's just like if I have to look down and make you comfortable, then you might need to look another way.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking where I'm going, and I'm not
Exactly.
going to turn my head because I'm afraid of giving you direct eye contact, as if like I have to honor you, as if like, you know, again, we're not equals.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about money, status, race, gender, any of that.
It's just people.
But as a person,
As human beings.
I
Yeah.
should be able to do me and you do you without me doing me interfering with you doing you. And
Facts.
if it is, you need to look in the mirror and figure out what's wrong with that. It ain't my job to bother myself with that.
Exactly. No, I mean, yeah. But I think a lot of that, though, comes from being a person who's just secure in who you are. Because a lot of times it can play on either side. Sometimes people want to just be in your way to be in your way.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And it's like, it's not necessary, but it does something for there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
100%. And that's just like, my friend told me a story about how her therapist told her that her sister was getting robbed, and she was just like, you know, tussling with the guy. He's trying to take her purse. She said, "I refuse to participate in this robbery," and snatched her purse and walked off.
I refuse.
And when I say that is the spirit, like, I refuse to participate in this. Like, what are we doing and why? It's always my
Right.
question. And people are so offended by that question, but I'm literally, it's a real question. It's like, what are we doing and why?
Because
like, make it make sense.
Is this going to move us forward, or are we just going to have a blowout and then we're still going to be stuck in the same position?
Because, like,
Like,
why?
Why? What's
Literally,
the point?
you know, I'm solution driven, so it's just
Same.
like.
Well, that's
and I try
that
to
Leo
find-
shit. See, when's your birthday again?
July 24th.
Yeah, man, I'm the 29th.
See, yeah,
Yeah,
you get me.
It's just pure based logic sometimes, where it's like, hey, I can still be annoyed and I can still be like perturbed and yes, and I might be short with my answers.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to really get to a solution.
Yes.
I'm not going to sit here and argue with you unless I think this argument is going to come to some kind of solution, or I think that I just want you to take a piece of what I'm saying.
And see, for me at this point, whether you get the piece or not, I can't even be concerned no more.
That's not my
It's
to
really
bear.
about, and not in a selfish way, but very much in a selfish way.
Right.
Do you see me and understand me, or do you just see me? Because I'm convinced that Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles can see me, so you seeing me is no longer special. It's just like, well, I'm not invisible, so duh.
Right.
Like,
right.
yeah. Like, but do you understand what you see? Because
And-
I could be walking out doing a hiking trail and see some vegetation and not know that, oh, this might be some sage. Whereas somebody who is from, I have a friend from St. Croix who is like, he knows the different, you know, plants and knows what they are. So whereas I'm like, oh, I don't touch that because I don't know what could be poisonous or what could be
Right.
hazardous. He goes and he feels it because he's just like, I see what this is, and this is a derivative of this. So because it's shaped like this plant from back home, it must be sage, or this must be rosemary, this must be this herb, you know, whereas fear keeps me away. So I understand if fear has you to go in defense mode when I come in for a hug. However, because of your fear, I have to respect that your fear might be hazardous to me, and we just don't align. I love you, but you can't see that this love is genuine, so you have your guards up and ready to punch me when I come in for a hug, and I'm like, oh, that's dangerous for me. So I don't want to get into a war with you and fight with you. So either we gonna like listen to understand and try to seek understanding and hear each other for real, or I'm not going to participate in this robbery because you're stealing my time and I'm coming to reclaim it. So like we either going to have a courageous conversation and deal with it, or we going to respectfully move the fuck on.
And that's facts.
Yeah.
It is that simple.
Yeah.
Damn.
Sorry for my language. But
No,
not sorry.
Yeah,
At the same time.
this is how we talk on this show. So where did this, like you said, storytelling and all those things prior? So if you got into doing the interviews and everything at 15, so you were in the church. What was your goal then? What was your passion?
Singing. I always thought I was gonna be a singer, and that was like my goal was to just to use the arts to inspire and create. I was always an artist, and it changed over the years. It started with me just drawing and stuff like that. And I remember having one of my cousins, Robbie, who just got me an art set, and so I was doing that for a while. I was convinced I was going to be a graphic designer, and then I always wanted to be an advocate for people, so I thought I was going to be a lawyer. And so
I had that. I was really, because I knew that I could act. I know that I can speak in front of rooms. And I do feel if I would have trained my brain at that point, it's something that I could have.
Yeah. It was always a thing for me. And then I always just enjoy writing sketches and skits. And it kind of happened on accident. One of the first ones I remember in particular was in 6th grade. Because by then you're writing with pens and not pencils anymore. And so when I would make a mistake, I found out how to make it in my...
No, for real. Pens, literally. Not pencils. The niggas are like, what? Even graphic designer. Nigga, what are you talking about?
That part.
It's crazy.
That's what I really be having to realize, I am grown.
Bro, same, bro.
Yeah, True Star, again, our platform that we met through just turned 20 this year. So it's just the fact that it's crazy that I've been doing this for 2 decades now. But I'm grateful that I get to say that I do this.
Yeah, facts.
Yes. But no, when it came to writing, I just always wrote really good stories, and I learned how to take my mistakes and make them work in my favor. So I remember writing a story, and I was trying to say, I would go to my mom wait, is the word Pacific or specific? And I had wrote down Pacific.
I used to say Pacific.
So I used that in a story. I was just like, Pacific. I mean specific. Y'all know Granddaddy O. I was telling a story to the kids, in a story. So it's just I just made every mistake work in my favor.
Right.
And that's when people took a notice and said, oh, you have a gift here. Because the story, it was literally just a little story for a World War II, story or something from my history class.
Right.
But it was so well written that I took it and paid attention to it. Didn't do anything with it again for years. Let's fast forward to, like I said, junior year of high school, and I get in True Star, and that's when I started really taking storytelling seriously, because now I had access. I had a program that taught me and curved me and took me and said, this is how you tell the story. This is how you set up the story. This is how you come into it. This is how you end it. Here are the different ways you could do it. And then from there, it kind of became something that made me stand out, because people at school know me as the guy who's getting to go interview celebrities and stuff like that. And so it's something that's because I was just never the cool guy. I was not the athlete. I played basketball. I was on the team because I had good grades, not because I was good. So it was the thing that was my thing. And people, then I would also tell our stories. It was a teenage magazine, so I was talking about what it felt like to have parents not understand your voice and not listen to your voice. What it felt like to deal with depression or something at that age or stuff. So just I was having real conversations, but then I also just learned how to get to the stars. As I started to age up, it got to a point when it was well, we want to now hand out these interviews to other kids and stuff. So I started my own platform and was able to go find a lot of the who's myself, which led me to PR accidentally. Right. So in doing that, I did my first cover story on Columbus Short, and fast forward to this cover story comes out like 9 months later after I reached out to his team to give it to him. They just took a liking to my passion. It was like, how can we make his name a household name? He himself called me September 1st, 2009. We'll never forget. I'm at church doing a skit that I wrote for church. And so we're in rehearsal for that, and I get a call from him asking how to make his name a household name. Started working with him in PR. Fast forward to 7 years later. At one point, I was going to leave school to come work for him because I was still in college at the time. The very first person I run into when I get to LA is Columbus Short. And it was on accident. Like, it was,
wow.
I stopped to use the bathroom and literally ran into him, like, outside one of my favorite restaurants at the time. And it was just like, how random that I got here. And it was 7 years and 7 days later to our first meeting. Because that Thursday before that, I posted a picture of him and I for Throwback Thursday.
Right.
And this is the following Wednesday, November 2nd, my LA Varsity, which just passed.
Wow.
And he's the very first person I see fresh off the road. It was just like, God
wild.
showed me I was going to get you here one way or another, you know?
Right.
And it wasn't attached to any one specific person. He got me here in his time, and then when I got here, just elevation hit. A friend told me certain blessings are geographical. You have to be in the right spaces to get them.
100%.
And the moment, like, I was an hour outside of my drive from my new place, because I drove cross country.
Right.
I got a call from the TD Jakes show, which was like a bigger placement than I had for a client at the time.
Right.
And so it was just like, just getting here. And I didn't post nothing to say, hey, move to LA.
Yeah.
They just happened to call me. So I'm busy being in the atmosphere, putting myself in position to move to a new place, put me in position to elevate myself and get bigger relationships and grow my business. And I'm amazed that I've been able to build a career just doing what I love and somehow making a living off of it. Like, literally just connecting people, inviting people out to things, curating spaces. It's just like,
well, it's funny
what?
because I feel, especially come from where we come from, like, you don't learn that a lot of pieces in this industry are jobs.
Yeah.
Like, we all think that, like, I gotta be the nigga on the TV, and like, that's the only way to get it, or I gotta be on the CD, that's the only way to get. But it's like, no, there's so many avenues, and there's 100%. So many skills that each of us has that, like, you know, okay, maybe you don't make beats, but maybe you engineer. Maybe you don't engineer, but maybe you're the person who coordinates the sessions. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't coordinate the sessions, but maybe you work in the pub. Like, there's so many. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's having the exposure and the wherewithal to understand, like, and you and informing those skills. Like, you've been refining that skill in Chicago, so then it bleeds over.
100%. And I had to learn that access was such a gift. Mm-hmm. I've always had the gift of access. People have always strangers will come and tell me their stories. People have always trusted me with their stories. Right. And it's so funny because growing up, people were like, nobody want to hear your life stories. Well, what am I doing right now? On a podcast telling my life story.
Literally.
I guess they were wrong. And so, you know, understanding that now, I understand that people giving me access to their homes, to their hearts, to their stories, to their vulnerable, transparent truths. That's a gift. So what do I do with that? I share it through these podcasts. I share it through the content I create. I share it through PR by getting placements for clients. Like, everything I do is about, you know, creating assets for others by giving them the information from those who are already doing it. You know, creating access into the outlets you wouldn't normally see yourself in. I had an African-American 50-year-old woman whose career went to a whole nother level. She went to Broadway after being a background singer at 50 and a principal role. And so trying to convince her to be in a mainstream outlet.
Oh, she's like,
she had to think about it. I'm like, think about it. This is a big placement. What do you mean? Think about it. She's just like, traditionally, I don't see women that look like me in spaces like that. And I have to remember that, like, oh, so this ain't just another placement for me. This is giving you access to a place you've never seen yourself in before. Yeah. That's a special job. That allows me to even let go of my ego and say, this ain't just another routine placement.
Right.
This is kind of validating someone's like that thing that makes them special. So that's place that you want. Let me give you another POV, because two things can be true. You don't traditionally see anybody in those spaces, and that's why you break the barrier.
Exactly.
You be the one. So now the next person, they got to think about it. Now they're honored that they get to be a part too, because they see you did it, you know? Right. And I had to stop seeing people as robots and start humanizing them. Shout out to Shonda Rhimes for helping me with that. Just through her content and her stories, she really humanizes characters, which allow you to see real people. And that's kind of my goal with with PR and with podcasting and journalism as well. I want to put people that you see that you think just got it all made and show you that no, they have the same responsibilities, the same accessibilities, the same capabilities, the same, charge and mission that you do. They just have different dollars, they have different visibility, they have different connections. But the same way that you had to overcome some hurdles or go through a process,
they're doing
they
the
did
same
too.
thing. And they're just doing it in different ways. And what's more fucked up, on a larger scale.
So
like,
they have to do it in front of the world, meaning when they have to
when you
stumble,
broke, don't nobody know.
Yes.
When they broke,
everybody in their business.
how you think that feel?
My gosh.
And then they got people they don't want to disappoint too. But then we out here like, look at this nigga.
That part. And it's just like,
damn.
we forget people are people.
Yeah.
And so we lose grace, we lose empathy.
But that, you know what that is, though? It's like what we were talking about before. People love to see, people will build you up and they'll also want to see you fall. Because it's like, well, it's, we all like the underdog. Then when you're no longer the underdog, now you think you're better than everybody. It's a psychological thing because a lot of people themselves, they're not happy. So, I'm gonna throw rocks at you because I'm not. Yeah, you should be doing bad too. Ha ha, you're losing your money. Ha ha.
See? Yeah.
What?
And it's really sad because it's just like what you find at the top is that there's camaraderie. There is, like, let's collaborate. At the bottom, they're all competing.
Right.
Like,
very true.
It's like, no, don't come up there. Stay down here with me. Because they fear being left behind, which I get.
It happens a lot.
2 things can be true.
2 things can be true at once. But
instead of you pulling me down, can you help me pull you up? Or can you trust that I'll get up and come back and get you and bring you up with me?
Or how about we both keep running and then there's something that I can... at least be within arm's reach so I can throw something to you.
And be ready.
And Because
ain't nothing like giving somebody the baton and setting somebody up and then he's just like,
you think I don't know?
We were all rooting for you.
I've seen it. And you be like, dude.
We all have, unfortunately. Like, I literally, you're right there. You have one job. One job. Here we are. It's above me now.
and then you have the audacity on the next thing to be like, man, you don't bring... I
refuse to participate in this robbery.
There you go.
Of my time.
I agree.
Reclaiming my time. Take
true.
Accountability.
No, real shit. I mean, do you think that there's a way? Why do you think we react that way? And do you think there's a way for us, like, just as people, especially black people, like, to see more? I mean, I know it's the lack of exposure, so sometimes you don't, it's like the person who, if you've never seen $1,000, you're so worried about this motherfucker paying you the 100, you're not paying attention to the, like, this could grow into something,
Fear and trust issues. And validly so. Like,
2 things could be true at once.
Traditionally, we have been played from the start of times, and our stories have been rewritten falsely. They have been hidden. Why do we have movies like Hidden Figures now? Like, why didn't we learn about those hidden figures? And why are they hidden figures? Like, why weren't they Black history? Because those are Black excellence and American history. Yeah. Like, it's not just Black history. That's like these NASA space. How do you hide this? Like, why don't we know about those things? Why do we only know about athletes and entertainers? And why those the only things pushed to us? Why can't we sing a song like, Hello by Adele and make it on the radio? Like, why do we have to do, and I'm okay with the music.
Ass?
Yes.
Why is that?
There's a part of me that understands after the Meg Thee Stallion documentary, embracing your sexuality in a way that men have been able to and women haven't been, and they've been looked at. So I understand some of the liberating portions of that, but it's like that shouldn't be the only way we're allowed to.
Why is that our only option? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
you can be that. That's cool because there's a segment for that, and then where's the segment for this and the segment for this?
Because it's like Black is this one thing. when it's a multitude of things. It's a range. It's a spectrum of things. So black in Africa versus black in Brazil versus black in New York versus black in Chicago versus black in Idaho.
Yeah. Oh shit! And I wonder what that black.
It's all different, and so we can't
different.
just say, well, black is just this one thing. Is urban, it's Shanae girl, because that's not everybody's black.
You know what? Fucking pisses me off now. It's it's the same way. The same way I feel like they hijacked the word woke. Culture has been beaten into submission, because what I don't like is I'm like, wait a minute. So when you're like, do it for the culture. Usually you're selling me dumb shit. Like you're not like, hey, do it for the culture. Here's a whole biography of books. Like fuck no. It's do it for the culture, or oh, this person is really about the culture. And it's like, what, they're a rapper?
Yeah.
Like
just even assumption that everything we do is connected to just those limited things.
It's crazy.
Like we can do more than entertain.
Yeah.
Y'all. We can do more than entertain.
Yeah. But
y'all.
but you know what the problem is?
Genuinely.
That is where, because of, history, that is the only place, generally speaking, where we can make large sums of money. So that is where our most notable ones.
That's also part of the disguise.
Yes.
Don't get me in trouble.
No, yeah, I know what you mean.
Jaguar right on here, but it's just like, that's not even the real money. Real money is way beyond that, but that's what they want you to think. It's like, stay there. Stay in that little, this is for you. Oh no, this isn't for you. That's too, you're getting beyond yourself. Like you what does it say? You're doing too good for your own good.
Oh yeah.
What does that mean? You too good for your own good? I can be too good, but there's no glass ceilings, but I'm too good for my own good. Literally make it make sense. Yeah. And the person I am now, I've always been a challenger. Like I told you, I can remember when I first started talking back. I've always been a challenger. But I'm literally that person that's like that annoying kid. It's like, but why?
Well, why? Why? Yeah.
Like, no, tell me right now why. I had a publicist, she wanted to jump on a call, for a matter. And I said, no, I prefer you to explain to your team my inaccuracies. I want to see it in email. Point out the inaccuracies in my story. Don't call me and no, point it out. I want to see it.
Bro,
show me the receipts.
I tell people all the time, if I'm doing something, especially if it's going to involve like some money or something like that, no. Mm-mm. Don't call me, because I'm not about to go through this, because I've met them, and there are people who are some fast talkers, and nigga, they're good at it. Fuck around, have you being like, all right, cool, yeah, I guess that worked.
Yes,
and
for the sake of convenience.
No.
We're not doing that anymore.
You write an email, or you text me, because I like being able to pull up my receipts and be like, well, on Tuesday at 3:35, you said that you were going to be here on.
I love a receipt, because I'm a visualist. Like, I see it. Even without having to pull it up, I see it. I remember. I'm a publicist. I pay attention to detail. So you're not going to pull a fast one on me. I will pull up the receipts. You can have it your way, but I got the receipts. That show what the agreement was, Right. And even if you have it your way, like falsely, you're not going to go far. Because, my reputation precedes me, and yours can precede you. Because at the end of the day, what I will say is, it's like Yelp. I'm going to give an honest review. I don't believe in lying. So if somebody asks me what my experience was, I'm going to tell them what my experience. So I'm doing nothing but being honest and being a mirror. And that's why I say, if you don't like what you see, look in the mirror and ask what you need to adjust. Not to say that it can't be me, but I know I'm showing up authentically as me. Right. And I'm genuine. I'm not perfect, but I'm genuine. So there's something off here. You need to see, okay, what is it that's bothering you? What is it about him that's, if I'm being genuinely me? Because even if it's something that you don't agree with, and that's just genuinely who I am, then maybe I'm not for you in that space, Yeah. And that's okay too. It don't mean that one is wrong or one is right. It just means we don't align.
But see, I think the difference is even how you just explained that. That's reasonable. Mm-hmm. Most people aren't reasonable. Like we were talking about earlier.
They want it their way, like it's Burger King.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't get into any gray area or middle ground. It's like, nope, this is what this is.
Very limited perspective.
Yeah, very, very limited perspective. There can be something. Hey, you can meet we've all met these people, especially coming from Chicago. You meet somebody who's like, yeah, they probably do a ton of terrible things. But 10% of them is like, they cool as fuck. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
hey, they might not do X, Y, and Z, but they do that. And they're a stickler about that, man.
You find what works for you.
You find what works for you. And there's, and especially when it comes to people are layered. But you do have people who just are, woe is me every day. The sun don't never shine. It can't shine on me. And it's just like, okay, I get it. It's just, and you know what else happened today? Okay, I don't have the energy to do this.
I struggle with that one a lot. I struggle with that one on the way here. Like, I struggle with that because, yeah, there are some people who can't see the light, and there's a part of me to understand it because, one, I've been there. Last year was my year where I could not see the light, and I was just like, I literally couldn't see the light. Like, I had hay fever. And for a month and a half, twice last year, I literally, light was like blinding to me.
Right.
And I was just like, what is this? Like, I literally thought I was going blind. I was having to feel my way around the house and feel.
Oh, wait,
you're
serious?
No, like, seriously could not see.
Oh, shit.
I couldn't drive. Like, my eyes were just watering nonstop.
I thought this was a metaphor.
No, it was
shit.
real. Like, I literally lost my eyesight. I lost my job. I lost my car twice, back to back.
What's this?
I lost everything last year. Like, last year was like my Job year. And so it got to a point where it's just like, I really couldn't rely on my own capabilities, on my own doing,
Yeah.
And I had to really like just kind of start fresh and see life differently. But during it was hard to see the light, and I was very like heavy, but what I was intentional about was making sure I didn't pour that onto others. I just kind of like stayed away and stayed to the people who I knew could empower me. Right. I couldn't be around you if you were going to bring me down because I didn't have anything to lift you up. I couldn't lift myself up, So I just tried to be responsible with myself while there, opposed to being like, let me bring everybody else into the dark with me. And if I did bring you to the dark, I apologize. However, that wasn't my intent. I tried so hard to stay to myself. So if you see me this year compared to last year, that's why everyone's like, you outside now. Because it's like I went for a whole year where I literally couldn't be outside.
Wait,
like,
so what was it?
I had hay fever twice. Like, I literally had, like, allergies got me, and I've never, so, last year, because all the rain, we had a lot of high pollen account.
Yeah.
And I've always written that down, because I know that's something I've seen my mom write down since I was a kid. I'm allergic to pollen. I ain't never seen pollen, and it bothered me.
Shit.
But last year, because we had, like, 6 months straight of rain, it got me twice, and we didn't know what it was. Like, I started to know that I wasn't alone, because there was a few friends who had similar symptoms. And for the first time, I went to the eye doctor, and it was packed. And my eye doctor ain't never packed. So I was like, okay, so I'm not alone. There's something here. And even the doctors didn't know what was going on at first at the eye doctor, because it wasn't just an eye situation. It was an allergy thing. So I had to go to the regular doctor, like the ER. And it took a friend at the time to take me and say, hey, I'm not about to let you just sit here and like not tend to this. So when I finally went to the doctor and they realized it was allergies, it finally started to clear up. But then it came back again like a month later. And so twice I had to deal with hay fever where I literally couldn't see. And so it's wild. Like I lost so much, physically, financially, like emotionally, mentally. I was just in such a heavy place. So I know what it's like to feel like I can't see a way out. But at some point, you have to declare, no, I refuse to go, like, this is it. Like, this is my breaking point. I'm done. I refuse to participate in this robbery. What are we about to do? It has to turn around. And I say now, a lot of times we wait to thrive until the resources align. But you can't wait for them to align. You have to decide in your mind that I'm going to thrive, not survive. The moment you decide in your mind, the resources will align. Yeah. And I'm a witness to that. Just even this past week, I did in 3 days something I have been trying to do for 3 years and paid off like a huge bunch of credit card that I've been trying to get rid of for years. Right. And I was able to do it because I just made a decision. I said, I'm about to just make this payment. Yeah. It wasn't planned at all. And then I found myself deciding, okay, well, I want to make another pay. I want to do it again because I started momentum and it feels good. I'm like, well, I got this other one coming up. I either put rent up or I could pay my credit card early and just pay it off. And so let me decide. God was like, okay, just the fact that you started, let me bring you another check so you can do both. And it was just like, just me having a momentum by me deciding, I believe that set me up. Like, and it's crazy because it was like, this is something, my expenses have been way less the last few years than it is now. And so for me to do it now with what my expenses were, it wasn't because the resources aligned necessarily ahead of time. What it was is I decided I want to raise my rates. The moment I raised my rates, I drew some different clientele that I hadn't drew before, and a returning client. And from there, I was able to go to the next level because I decided there was no boss, no mentor. I decided randomly one day I'm going up in my rates. I sent my graphic designer the new rates, and next thing you know, the next day I didn't put an ad out saying, "Hey, God, hey, life, looking." It was just like I decided, and the universe saw, okay, you made a decision. Let me go out and be the agent and get you what you need. So just by me making a decision, yes, 100%.
That's where I always think it's just like when you conspire, the rest of the world will conspire with you.
100%.
But you have to take the first step.
100%. That first step is writing it down. Like, that's a real thing. I've written down like how much money I needed to pay off some stuff or to do something or to get something. And literally like that same week, and I'm not talking about like $5. I'm talking about like 5 figures of like, I would write down those numbers and say, I need this to pay off this, and literally that same week I draw that in. It's just like, where did this come from? Of all times, why now? Because I wrote it down and I believed it. Damn. And I didn't like say like, okay, I need it by this time.
No, this is what I need.
Every time.
Get what I need done.
I planned on paying my car off early. Like before my birthday, I said, I wanted to pay it by my birthday, which was like a year early.
Right.
The fact that I said I wanted to do that set me up to do it even earlier than my intended date. It's like I'm that person that says, I'm going to finally go have this courageous conversation with this person. And just by me setting myself up and mentally preparing to go have the conversation, the person to hit me up and say, I've been wanting to chat with you. You know what? I want to take accountability for it. And it's just like, oh, so I didn't have to go. So what were you going to say?
Right.
Oh, nothing. How about them Bears? Because you said it all, know? And so for me, learning to just be willing to show up and address the thing head on, do the thing, life will meet you there.
That's very true. That's like, that's what I've always experienced. Like whenever I start on a path or start doing things, and then sometimes the thing you're setting out to do, other shit comes up that's twice as good.
Wait, tennis, tennis is one of those things that I've always wanted to do. I fell in love with it when I moved to LA and finally started doing it. Tennis is the thing that got me in a national commercial.
Oh, wow.
During the US Open this year.
What?
Like literally just my love for tennis and meeting people in the tennis space got me in a commercial.
That's how you did that. That's crazy.
It wasn't like I had to go to some audition and say, and that's just something I do just because I love it. If you love it, you will find yourself attracted to the right things that will put you in position to do what you love at a greater level.
That's very true.
Like I literally am making a living doing the things I love, connecting people, building community, having game nights, like living a soft life, like really, and promoting people. Like I'm not picking up a mop and going and have to go mop someone's floor. And not to say that there's something wrong with it. There's someone who's graced for that.
Right.
That's not what I prefer to do, And so the fact that I can make money doing what I prefer to do, that to me is like your passion meeting purpose, and you figuring out how to do it with precision enough to make people feel comfortable enough to invest in you and pay a profit for you to do it so they don't have to. Because anybody can go cook and make food themselves. But I pay a chef at the restaurant for the convenience. I pay DoorDash for the convenience. I pay a barber for the convenience of them being skilled enough to cut my hair so I don't have to sit in the mirror and take a chance every time. I don't want to take that risk.
Every time.
I'd rather somebody else take that risk. And that way, if they mess up, I can blame them and say, hey, give my money back. You messed me up.
But you still
I just learned a lesson.
You still go home hurt. You know what? Not to sidebar, but think about that. Have you ever been in a barber chair and the barber fucked you up?
You have really been getting personal today, and I should have sent over like a list of like things
I don't discuss.
Because there was this one time when I got turned into a little Bill. I don't know how.
Oh, how old were you?
Don't talk about it. It was in my adult life.
Oh.
And I was like, do you hate me? Like, are we cool?
That's hilarious.
Because I look like you hate me.
That's hilarious.
And you know this is never what I've asked for. Like we've been doing this a long time.
So it was like a long time barber too.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, they'll see this moment, but
That's tough. That's what I wondered, because it's like, barbers gotta fuck up, right? It's like you'll go to a guy and he might know, but like every once in a while they gotta be off their game, right?
So that's the place where I still haven't learned how to have courageous conversations. I'm a runner, I'm a track star, and when it's uncomfortable, I run far.
Right.
And so, you know, I'm that person that once you mess up my hair, I just turn this to Casper to friendly ghost. See, I'm Randy C. Bonds, and I tell people that C stands for Casper, because I will ghost you in a hot second, and I can't even deny it. Like, you will not see me no more. I'll just be gone, and I'll never address it. You know, because I don't have the gut to shoot you down and tell you that you weren't good at what you believe you're good at. So it's hard for me to say, oh, you messed up, because it's like, to an extent, I'm your canvas. This is your art and your design. Now, taking it far with because this is my head.
Yeah, it's that.
But I mean, that's kind of, it's like they're an artist too. It's like a chef. Like, I'm very conscious now to not go say, oh, this was nasty. I may not have liked it. It may not have been my preference, so I may not get it again.
But if I cook for a living, you tell me it's nasty. That's,
and I appreciate a chef who will come and say, okay, what would you have liked differently? So they know, and they don't just take it offensively. Because sometimes we are artists who are sensitive about our shit, and so it can't get there, you know? But yeah, I don't have the guts to address the barber head on. So I'm the type that looks in the mirror, like when they can't see me, or I look just out of respect, but I'm not going to say, oh no, you missed a spot, or you. I don't have it in me, and I need to man up.
I have those tendencies to like, but I feel like I don't take it as far as as the things I think.
Yeah.
But people say I generally tend to, like, I'm not soft spoken about generally.
You're a Leo.
Yeah.
You can't hide it.
I'll
poker face. What's that?
Yeah.
You don't know what that is.
Literally, it's like I see somebody, I'm like, wait, I don't.
That's why I can't look, because my face is gonna tell. So that's why it's like I don't really look at it. It's just like okay, great, you did your thing, and I pay and I go. And then I get to the car, I look, and I'm like, okay, it's all right, lesson learned.
My thing is, if I find someone who does your job better than you, I won't necessarily ghost, but I might not be back, and I might not hit you up like, hey, so check it out.
Tomato.
Yeah, you know, but I think it
goes faint. You know, two different things.
It depends on what job you do.
Yes.
Because if it's like a barber, I feel like you can ghost. As bad as that sounds, you can. Like, if there's a reason to, Now, if you're just, if you're moving or something, why ghost them? But if you're like, this isn't good. But if you found somebody who does their job better. But or
even just sometimes convenience, like, one of my favorite barbers, just like, that's like, because in LA too, you have people that do multiple things, and it's just like, this is the homie, he's like a brother to me, like, so it's like, I would rather be there, and that's our bro time and checking. But it's also because this isn't his main thing, it's like I get in when I can. Whereas like my actual barber, who still isn't his main thing, but he's more flexible, so it's just like that, the convenience of him being more flexible is like, I can get it on the spot. Right. My brother cut it for free. My barber, I'm gonna pay, some nice change for it. But it's just like, I prefer being able to get it on demand, because one, my hair just grows so fast. So it's like, I be needing, like, oh, I'm going to an event last minute, I need my hair cut. So it be that sometimes. And that gets into a deeper thing for me, is learning that everything ain't personal. And when you can learn that some things are preference, not personal, then you learn to make those necessary decisions for yourself, to not have to avoid the courageous conversation.
Man,
I'm still working on it with the barbers, but it's beyond that.
Once again, too, it's like, it's planning ahead for your own shit. Because sometimes I feel like a lot of times people get real fucking, butthurt about things. It's like, well, you said you were gonna, but it's like, hey, assess the situation. Yes. This nigga has 3 jobs. I just asked him, could he do something last minute? And then if he's not able to do that, I didn't have a fallback plan. Yeah. Whose fault is this?
That part.
Not his.
I've really learned at this age to not depend on anybody for anything. Like, if I can Uber, I'm going to Uber. Like, just to avoid. Now, if you want to do that for me, I'm grateful for it. And I'm not too proud to accept it. But I don't have an expectation that anybody has to do anything. And I used to be like, oh, I hope somebody do this. I hope somebody treat me this. I hope somebody give me that.
I won't lie though. I don't know what that is, but I do feel like that's something I've noticed. It's like, even like people who do come from like the crib sometime, like their thought process, with me doing this my whole life, I've always heard people like, You're like, man, why they won't put me on, or why they won't do? And it's like, what exactly do you think that is?
Yeah.
Like, how far do you think these people have gone?
Yeah.
And then you think they're just supposed to help you? And how would you even want help with everything? Like what?
And then, are you willing to actually give something in exchange for the help? Because let's not talk about that.
No.
Like, I'm a publicist, so I am, a team member. I'm somebody that's a supporting character, right? You know how hard it is for people like publicists and managers and agents to ask for their cut, because it's considered like, it's taking 10% of. No, you're getting 90% of something you wouldn't have had if not for this person bringing you an opportunity or exposing you or elevating you.
Right.
There used to be a day and time, and when like you look at the old school movies, and it was just like you were lucky to work with this big time publicist that was out here. Because at the end of the day, now let's break it down. Let's not make it about anything else. Let's just break down the facts. As a publicist, you pay us a fee to utilize our network.
That's what it is.
Our strategies, our narrative to shape yours, to help, like, basically figure out how to tell your story without telling your business. And so when you're doing that, I'm using my resources, my relationships, my friendships, the people that I know to help elevate you, to help, filter things for you, to make sure that even if a dark truth get out, maybe they don't elevate it or highlight it or include it, if they can find a positive angle.
Damage control.
Yes, all types of things. So it's just like, you have to realize that when you're the person who's actually supporting somebody, you're the gatekeeper to an extent. You're the generator.
Right.
So often I thought I was the plug, and people call me that, and I respectfully appreciate it. But I now realize, no, I'm actually the generator. Because I'm the thing that the plug plugs into to get power. So the media comes to me to get a story, right? Generating. They're a plug, because then they're going to take what they have to an audience. And then I have the client who needs their story told. So it's like, great, I'm the generator that both plugs are plugged into looking for power. Right. And without me, the client has a story that's not being told. And without me, the story is not being given, the story's not happening without the journalist having access to the client to tell the story, So understanding that has made me shift the mindset from thinking like, I'm lucky to be in a room and I'm grateful to just be Robin to Batman, and allowed me to see no, you're a visionary with a story to tell, and you have different subjects that you work with to help them tell their stories, to find out what lands with them. Who, like, this dancer over here may be great for doing dance workshops, and talking about mental health, whereas this dancer may be fitting to talk about beauty and hair care tips and how to keep your hair intact when you're on stage, whereas this person over here may talk about how to balance family, while still pursuing your career. It's being able to find what lands. I remember I was working with Tasha Cobbs, and they want me to promote the fact that she was nominated for her 3rd consecutive Grammy. And I'm like, unfortunately, if you're not, Beyonce being nominated for like a record-winning number, that's not necessarily news. Tasha Cobbs opened up about battling depression and having to use therapy to overcome that as a black girl in the church who was a PK. That's what resonated with people. That's what went deep. And that was in 2015 before mental health was a buzzword. So in 2015, she was talking about that. In 2021, she was still talking about that on The View. On The Real. So talking about this same thing that I heard just in a lyric. She said that, and she said in her song, Jesus Saves, that from the sting of rejection and the bondage of depression. And that was the first song she released that she wrote. All the songs before that were covers or songs that other people wrote. So knowing that this is personal, I'm like, is this something that you're comfortable talking about? Is this a real personal ad-lib, or is this just something you're singing? And learning it was personal, I asked her if she was willing to use her voice and bring attention to that. And she did. And it's just like, me finding those strategic angles is what's made me who I am. Me being able to find those hidden gems in people's stories. Because there are times when you feel like, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. But it's just like, no, you being a person that survived cancer is the story that somebody needs to hear, so that that person who's going through it can know that diagnosis isn't a death sentence, that they can overcome it. So to say like, I don't want to be a disrespect to somebody who's really dealing with it doesn't have to mean they're on their deathbed. Like, you really dealt with it, even if it was minor or a scare. Like, so now let the other person who's dealing with the scare have another narrative to look at. Other than whether the
inevitable.
Yeah.
Facts.
That's the importance of representation to me. It's not about making sure that every color is represented and present, but that that's understood, like I said earlier. Like that you understand the purpose of it. That you understand that, hey, in order to get white, I need green, I need red, I need blue. I need all of these, and then that creates the micro colors in between. But when I don't see that, then you find what we're seeing in our, day and age now in our climate politically. You see people try to, dominate and eliminate who they feel like is inferior, when it's just like we all make up the greater good. We all make up the puzzle.
Well, and it creates a space where we don't talk. And that's the best way. When you can divide people, and they can't. What do they do if we got arrested right now? What would they do? They would divide us. Mm-hmm. Because if we talk, we might go, we were just doing the podcast, right? Yeah, this don't make no fucking sense. What's going on? We might start putting dots together.
Yes.
And
Tower of Babel.
Yes, there you go.
Present day.
And that's why I feel like even in this climate, it's so much of that where it's just like no gray area. It's like you're either all the way with us over here or you're all the way with us over here. And
there's no, again, empathy for difference. It's just like we have to be the same. We have to be equally yoked, or else, you know. And it's just like, and equally yoked with whatever they want to yoke us with, whatever side you're on. And that's the other bad part, where it's like, oh, why can't I love 25% of the policies over here, and then maybe not agree with this, but then I do like the other 25 over here. Like, why can't it be that? No, it has why to can't be two things be true? Why does it have to be? Yeah, just black or white. Yeah, there's a whole spectrum in between. Black and white is one end. That's the end, and that's the other thing. Why are we at the end? I don't even understand the concept of war, because I'm just like, we're not at a place where we can talk it out and just say, hey. Well, I get war. It's never good. But I get war. But the problem with war in today's times, if we're talking about, especially between countries. Yeah. We've got so much shit in place. It's just like our society. We're kind of so comfortable and got so much shit in place that it's kind of like, war made sense when you were just going and hey, you see that over there? Fuck that. We're taking that. And you could just do that. Made sense. Now you got so many, you got NATO, you got, so you're not just stealing land. Yeah. So if we're not stealing land and doing that whole thing, like you said, can we just not talk it out? Yeah, because if I go have a fight with somebody, I'm going to jail. But you could go be a war hero by just because you want this, and so we still celebrate Columbus Day. I know we call it Indigenous People Day now, so we just okay, we understand at the root is bad, so we'll change the name, but we're gonna still acknowledge it though. But we sorry, but we still gonna celebrate. Niggas don't want Thanksgiving to go away. All the things, but it's even it's so much that if we get to the core of what these things really are, it's terrible. It changes the narrative completely, and that's what I'll say. I'm in life in general. I'm at a place where I'm 35 now, and it's 2024, so I don't know what it was about 2024 that was destined to be this, but Cat Williams said it. It's really the year of the expose, and so a lot's being revealed, and so I find myself unlearning a lot and getting to the root of it and being okay, what is this really? I know what I was told. I know what I thought I saw. I know what I perceived with my limited perspective at the time. But now that I have the full story, now that all the pieces of the puzzle have been put into place and all the cards are on the table and we put everything on the canvas, let's cut the fat and let's get to what's real. And when I see what's real, do I still align, and do I want to reuse it or replace it? Right. We're not gonna keep talking about it and keep reliving it. And can't be a pessimist. And that's my point. And that's how I feel about and I say this even with our history as African Americans. It's a lot of times I'm hey, let's figure out. We should all teach our children. Hey, no, this is what goes on. This is these things happen. Yeah. All right, now let's go play ball. We know the fucking rules. Let's not talk about the rules every time. If you miss a shot, I don't want to hear. But I know, we know. Yes. It's very clear. Yes. I don't want another fucking trauma movie about it either. Yes.
I know. So
Yes.
let's play ball and let's figure out how to move forward.
That part.
Because I always use this analogy. I'm like, okay, do you think we really live in a reality where Blue Ivy's going to be telling her kids, like, they're not going to let you do that because you're black? Now, 5 generations from now, are we still going to be saying that? And then here's my question. We will still know the rules of the game. That's never going to go away if you have good parenting. So that's not going to be the first thing I throw at that, because it's like, well, that's discussed. So what else went wrong in there?
Because
you know what I mean?
At this point, to be honest, as crazy as it sounds, this is the most progressive we've ever been. This is the freest we've ever been. This is the most liberated we've ever been.
Every fucking show you turn on, for sure, has a black person or a gay person, or they're usually they make them one, but still, there's some there is at least representation everywhere. Like at least one Asian character, at least one. It's like,
and it may not be genuine or strategic, but it's there. So we can at least say that there's still progress.
Now we need the great projects to be made that also still have that, the quality. There we go. To still with that representation, and then which you get from a Jordan Peele. You get, not saying that it doesn't happen, but we know across the board.
But I think there's a lot more than just a few that are selectively picked to represent the one black race. When it's just like, there is so many.
They play ball.
Yeah.
they play ball. So it's one of those. I know what you mean, though, because there's so many talented.
There's so many, like there's, down to let's go with Denzel, our boy Denzel.
I was
Whitaker.
literally sitting here like Denzel Whitaker's one.
Yeah, like he's to me, he's someone who's been doing this since we were kids, who I as a kid can look up to and say, like, man, I remember seeing this young kid who looked like me on TV, Taj Mari, Kelvin Harris Jr. Like there's so many people who are like really doing it, and again, because it's not on the mainstream level, as far as just like they're not in the spotlight in a Hollywood glitz and glam doing all of those things, they're not as known as some of the ones who are. Or again, just even with what's happening in the present climate of Hollywood, if you're not a part of certain things, then you find yourself just like on the outskirts, really. And
even how the industry is changing, it's like, let's be real, even the people who are in a lot of the things, if you don't have unless you are in the things, like, you know what I mean, like you're the black guy in Dune or some shit, like unless you're doing that, like a lot of this stuff is, if you don't have an internet presence, people don't know you.
And that's why I do what I do as a publicist, to be honest. Like my tagline has always been exposing the underexposed. I've always enjoyed, even just at a young age when I was in True Star, I loved doing the people that everybody didn't know. We came up with an under the radar section when I was there because of that. It's like it was my way of highlighting the people who are lesser known. You're like,
but they deserve to be known.
Yes,
more,
their talents are. So there's a lot of people where I may have been there first to interview them, and they hadn't had an article before, and these are known people, or people whose platforms are going on platforms like YouTube, like Danger Nicole,
or just when she was on JD too.
Yes, literally, like I remember her from YouTube and everything. So featuring her and stuff like that, and there are people again like yourself who I've kept in touch with to this day, who I just featured back then because I believed in their story. So for me, it wasn't always about the numbers, and back then we didn't have social media the way we did.
We didn't know the numbers.
We didn't. So it's just like I was just interviewing people who I was fascinated by, because for me it was my way of learning directly from the people who were doing what I wanted to do someday, and then now my way of sharing it now with everybody else. So I ain't got to come, let me tell y'all about what what I learned from this.
I wrote about it.
I wrote an article about it to share with you so that you too can be empowered. So now it helps you because your story is being told in a place where, and there are so many people who are people that were part of my first that I wouldn't even think about, but it's like everybody from Coco Jones to Zendaya to Trevor Jackson to Yara Shahidi to Keke Palmer.
Damn.
We featured them way back in the day when they were kids, just even in the True Star Juniors edition, you know? So a lot of people who you wouldn't see in necessarily the top magazines constantly being featured, we were featuring them at an early age. That was my introduction to a lot of them. I learned who Coco Jones was and who Zendaya was.
And that's why I love it.
Jacob Lattimore.
Same way you were out there hustling.
Yes.
They're out there hustling.
Yes. And so it's that aligning, networking across. And so, you know, me, it's just to know that I was a part of so many of these people's stories. Some people who will never even know that I was a part of their story, who don't know that I booked them for this or suggested them for that.
Right.
You know, there are things I can't even take credit for that I've contributed to. Right. And I always say my peace and my joy comes from knowing that I'm like that Southwest map that shows the hub is here, right? But we go all those places because there are pieces of me everywhere. Even in friends' homes, you can go to their home and there'll be a piece of something I gave them or something, or a piece of something that used to be mine that I was like, okay, now you have this when I left or something that has pieces of me. So there are traces of me in so many places, and that trace always brings me joy. Even recently, I went to a friend's musical, and he's like, that line that I said, you know, I got that from your video you said on a podcast. I'm like, what?
That's funny.
Where my cut? Then because now me out here and inspiring you using it, and I love that. Like, and I didn't know that. You know, you don't know the impact of your voice, of your presence, until people confirm it, and sometimes they never will. So you'll go to the grave sometimes never knowing how much you mean to people. And so I'm always grateful to have people and to come back and tell me the good and the bad. And thankfully most of it's good. They're like, yeah, you said this. I'm like, I don't remember, but that sounds like something I would say, so I believe it.
That, you know, that's literally why I started this. Because it was like, I knew that I had access to enough people who were, you know, people who should be highlighted and aren't, you know. So I knew I had that access off rip. But I wanted to, even past that, talk to people. Like, even, for example, like us. Like, this is, it's a beautiful excuse to have a long-form conversation with, whether it's people you know or don't know, but then also you learn something. Not only I learn about your background, I learn about your thought process. I learn about, you can even learn about just how they see the world or how they got where they're going, and then what pieces you can apply to yourself. 100%. So it's like, I get that aspect now. You found that earlier, but it was just, it's nice to see where, almost like the plant analogy you made earlier. Sometimes it's like, oh, you can see something, but you don't understand it.
100%.
And there have been people I've had one perception of when they came in, and then we sit down and we talk, and I'm like, oh, I see where, okay, and now I understand why you kind of do. Yeah. And it makes a huge difference.
And that's always the goal for me. It's like, I don't have to get you, but I can understand you. I may not agree with you, but I at least understand. There's sometimes I just don't. It's like, hey, then that's when you have to tap into that piece that surpasses all understanding and say, this one just ain't for me.
This
that's something that just go above me, and it just don't align with me. But I don't mean something's wrong with you. I always be now. I'm like, no, it's me. It's my standards.
I'll take that.
You know, I'm used to, you know, something different. And so this on the line what I'm used to. So it ain't you. I love this for you. I love this for you.
That's why I hate when people say that though. When people say that, they're like, that I love that for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. I'm like,
two things can be true. I mean it. And I mean it.
I mean it. I that's so funny,
I love it for you.
No, that is. Fuck, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something because that was.
I'm sorry.
No. You're good.
Rewind the tape.
Exactly. Hey, it's coming. You know, one of these days, just gonna be like, hold on, while it's still recording in full time. Well, Elizabeth, what do you want to do next? What's your plans? What's the overarching dreams and goals?
To elevate the storyteller in me. Again, I'm a visual storyteller, so I've been doing that through just content on social media and creating content with other content creators. But I'm ready to do like full-on projects, from films to, you know, bigger podcasts to my books. Just things that allow my voice and the stories that I've been entrusted with, from my stories to the stories of others, to come forth and resonate with people who need them the most. I have too much sitting in the clouds. And it's time for those like melodies to come pouring down, because people genuinely need it. And I have have these conversations so much on the regular. Like this, what we're doing on the podcast, this is me and I don't know how to talk any other way but this. This isn't a voice I turn on, you know? So it's just like understanding that there's a need for what I have. So there's a demand. I'm ready to supply it. And I'm ready to align with the right people who are ready to work together to supply it, because there's money to be made. There are people who are looking to be inspired and to be uplifted, and our life experience is that thing that creates the beautiful art that flows from our heart that allows somebody else to connect on a deep level, you know? So I'm really ready to do that. Like, I'm really ready to pour into myself in this year. And I've been doing that. I started off this year literally on New Year's and the second day of the year, writing 2 book proposals that I sat on for a few months. I was going to reach out to a book agent, and before I could reach out to her, she reached out to me saying she had been following me and recommended me to people. And I'm just like, I didn't even know you knew who I was. Like, the person who recommended me, you don't even know them. So like, how have you been following me? You don't technically follow me. So that's amazing to me that this person who I literally wrote a letter to send to them. I was going to wait to business hours. They wrote a letter to me at 6 a.m. I woke up to a message from them. So when I say the alignment has been there, I have gone through my cocoon phase. I have transformed. I'm no longer crawling. I'm flying, and I'm so ready to help those who are ready to fly with me. I love those I used to crawl with, but I can't crawl anymore. I can't keep singing those sad songs. I'm in a place where it's like, I am elevated and elevating, and it will continue to elevate. So either fly with me or I'll catch you on the other side, maybe, hopefully. And if not, I have fun while it lasted. Yeah.
There's no better way than this. There you go.
Genuinely.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
This is a great conversation.
Yes.
We out. Peace.